So, Chara, I know you might be thinking, but Chara is not evil. No, dear viewers, the only evil is you, or more specifically the player. So, Undertale. By now we've all played the game. If you haven't, spoilers I guess. An Indian game developed by Toby Fox. From its beautiful landscapes, to its funny and amazing characters, to the point that it really makes you stop and wonder, are they really just game characters? Especially Papyrus, he's on another level, probably my favourite character out of the whole game. Which is why, out of all the characters in the game, Chara seemed like the only odd character. She seemed very different, unique, especially in a game that showcases monsters and not just monsters. Look at Undy for example. At the beginning of the game, she is portrayed as an evil monster that throws you off a cliff, tries to stab you, then outright refuses to listen to you unlike most monsters, forcing you to flee. But then, after Papyrus helps you convince Undy to be friends, you end up befriending her by cooking together. Well, I say cooking together, more like burning her house down. That's why Chara just kind of sticks out to me. In a game that promotes you to spare monsters, not as monsters, but as people. Why is it that Chara is the only character in the game that is viewed as evil? A monster. That's why I'm here to tell you that she isn't. The first time we really hear about Chara is at New Home. The first time you go through New Home, the monsters tell you, one day a human fell in the ruins, and that the king and queen, Asgore and Tori, adopted their human child. At this point they already had Azrael. Later on, the human child fell very ill and died. With the final wishes of the human child being able to see the golden flowers at her home village, Azrael absorbs the human's soul. With their combined power, crosses the barrier. Azrael carries the human's dead body to a bed of golden flowers, only to be attacked by humans, mistaking him for a monster that killed the human child. But Azrael does not fight back. Wounded, he carries the human's body back to the underground, and then turns to dust as the fate of all monsters. It's a tragic tale of a human and a monster story, where the humans are viewed as evil. However, this isn't the end of the story. Here's where it starts getting interesting. In the True Lab, we start to discover weird entries. These entries are probably from Alfie and probably another scientist, Gaster, which if you don't know, Gaster was the scientist before Alfie. Anyways, there's a particular weird room in the True Lab. In this room we find a TV with tapes. Tape 3, which most people point as the evidence that Chara is evil, tells you that Chara accidentally poisoned her father, Asgore. Most people point to this as Chara purposely poisoning Asgore, and the fact that she laughed it off is like a failed attempt. But do in mind, Chara is just a child, so her laughing off isn't that strange, especially when you look at tape 2. In tape 2, Azrael asks Chara to show her creepy face. We obviously know that this creepy face is what we see at the end of Genocide. Some might point to this as Chara being evil, but I don't think that's what the original purpose was supposed to be. I think Toby Fox included this to show that her creepy face isn't just her being evil, but rather a gimmick. I mean, think about it. If you could roll your eyes backwards, would you automatically be considered evil? I don't think so. But this is just me blabbering on. Or I would say that if I didn't have evidence. At the end of the pacifist run, we fight Azrael, and obviously no spoilers here. If you go back all the way back to the ruins, you can meet him again. Azrael talks to Frisk. Why did he climb the mountain? Saying that travelers who climb Mount Ebot. Okay, what type of names are Frisk and Ebot? Anyways, he continues to say that they disappear. On the other hand, he seems to know why Chara climbed the mountain. And yes, the beginning clip that we see in the opening of the game is actually Chara climbing the mountain, Mount Ebot, mentioning that she hated humanity. Even though Azria mentions that Chara wasn't the greatest person, we start to kind of link the story together. Chara, a child, probably ran away from home. The reason probably being that she was called a monster or isolated. We know this because of tape 2, where Azria is kind of curious about her face. Reading more into this, we found even more information. Going back to the room with the tapes, tape 4 seems to be about a plan. We find out that the story the monsters told us wasn't the whole truth. It seems like Chara planned to die. That's why she mentions it in tape 3. And I assume she mentions poisoning her father, as we can do this so we can combine our souls. With Azria almost seeming doubtful or scared of the plan. Tape 5 seems to be the end result of how they failed the plan. Here's where it starts getting interesting. Azrael tells us that after they combined their souls, the control over his body was actually split between him and Chara, and that Chara was the one who carried her body to the village, not Azrael, which kind of makes sense considering this is the first time Azrael has ever been outside the barrier, which would make no sense how he would know where to go. Inside of the village, Chara wanted to use her full force to what we presume is try to get the souls of the humans, and Azrael resisted, causing both of them to end up perishing. It's a really sad story, honestly. Chara went from being bullied and called a monster at a home village, probably being mistreated and beaten up possibly, to the point that she just wanted to disappear. She didn't want to be in the living world no more. That's why she climbed Mountain Ebot, only to catch a small break when the real monsters adopted her. But again, her world gets shattered when she tries to save the very monsters by combining her soul with Azrael to get the 6 remaining souls to once again be called a monster by her home, her village, her people, and end up perishing. By no means do I think Chara is a saint, nor do I think she's even a good person. But at the same time, I really don't think she deserved her treatment at her village. They isolated her and treated her like a monster, which ironically at the end she did become. It really rewrites the way we look at the beginning epilogue. So, dear viewers, I know you might be thinking by now, what did I mean by you, the player, is evil? And why at the end of Genocide is Chara there, wanting the player to repeatedly erase time and space, or else she ends up killing you? So by now everyone knows the endings of Undertale. You can go through one of 3 routes: the pacifist route, the neutral route, and the genocide route. In Genocide, Chara ends up being awakened by your power and ends up giving you one of 2 choices. Either you keep erasing worlds over and over, or you refuse and she tries to kill you. While the other 2 routes, Chara does not get awakened. Some people might believe it's because of your power, as she stays at the end of Genocide. But what if I tell you that she's always been with you, and that the Chara we see at the end of Genocide, well, that's kind of the result of you, the player. Okay, so as far as I know, there are 3 other places you meet Chara. The first place you end up meeting Chara, though this one's a bit weak compared to the other 2. After Undy breaks off the bridge, end up getting a flashback of Chara. It's the first time Chara and Azrael met together, which makes you really wonder, was Chara with you the whole time? Like, I mean, you have Frisk, which is the actual character who fell down and is moving around the world. Then you have the player, which is you, who's controlling Frisk. So, where did this memory come from? It definitely didn't come from Frisk's because, well, it's a flashback of Chara. And definitely not from you, the player. So we can only assume Chara was you the whole time, probably inside of Frisk's, along with you. Then, the second time you meet Chara, he warns you through an echo flower, saying, behind you, which at this point you would meet Undy. Making you really wonder, is she like a ghost or something? And we definitely know that it isn't anyone else. I mean, it could be Flowey, but Flowey, I mean, you know what he does. He wants you to disappear. It also couldn't be the kid, because at this point he doesn't know that Undy is after you. Neither do I think he would help you anyways. And finally, definitely not Undy, definitely not Undy. That leaves you with your final encounter. It's the most apparent one. Every time you get a game over, you get a message. You cannot give up just yet. Chara, stay determined. Some say that it's the message you get from Asgard at the end of tape 5. But I don't think so, because quoting Asgard, he says, Chara, you must stay determined. While the game over message says, you cannot give up just yet. Even if we assume that this is just the memory of Chara, at the end of the day, Chara has been always with you. The Chara you meet from time to time is really different than the Chara you get at the end of Genocide. I mean, like, she almost seems helpful, trying to tell you to keep going and stay determined. As to why Chara is with you in the first place, we'll have to go back all the way to the True Lab. In order to answer that question, we actually need to look at how Flowey got created. Okay, so if you go back to the True Lab, there's an area full of flowers. As to how these flowers got to the underground, you can give thanks to Chara for this. So you guys know how Chara, using Azrael, carried her body into a bed of golden flowers. Well, because of that decision, most likely some seeds of that golden flower got onto her body along with Azrael's body. This is why you see golden flowers everywhere in the underground, or at the very least the places you go to. Well, if you go to the library, one of the traditions monsters have is when a monster disappears, they use the monster's dust to scatter on a favorite item they might have liked when they were alive. This is important because we know when Azrael disappeared and scattered into dust, the dust probably landed on a flower, a golden flower that was attached probably to Chara. Going back to the True Lab, we find out from Entry 8 that Alf chose a candidate of which he wanted to surprise Asgard with it, mentioning that it was the first golden flower that grew before all of the others. Furthermore, he mentions that's a being without a soul. If you guys still haven't figured it out, more than likely, this golden flower that he injected determination with was probably Flowey. Even the soulless part, which we find out that Flowey didn't have at the end of the Pacifist run, matches. Entry 18 mentions the flower is gone. Again, why this is important for Chara being inside of Frisk's, and you by extension. The place he landed at the beginning of the game is where Chara is being buried. After Asgard declares that he will kill any human that lands in the underground, you find out in his castle there's a coffin with your name on it, or more precisely the name of the character you picked. The first time players go through this game, they assume that this is their early coffin, but this isn't the case. This is supposed to be the burial area for the children. Flowey mentions in Genocide, Toriel probably brought Chara back to the underground ruins and gave her proper burial, which we can guess that there's one area in the whole of the underground ruins which has golden flowers, being the starting area you land. As to why she awoke, well, that's probably because of you. Before us, Flowey had the most amount of determination throughout the whole of the underground, to the point that he could save and load files. He got this ability by being injected determination from Alfie, but when we start the game he no longer has that ability, being overwritten by our ability. We have more determination than him. In fact, the only other time that he has more is when he gathers the 6 human souls at the end of the neutral route and at the end of the pacifist route. So what if our determination got leaked? If our determinations get leaked, then Chara being awake makes sense. Just how Flowey got created in the first place, being injected with determination, Chara probably got awakened by our determination. She even mentions this at the end of Genocide. And yes, I do believe it's you, the player, that has this ability, because Chara mentions that she woke up by your power, and we know she doesn't mean Frisk because she stole her body by now. Flowey also mentions this clearly after you try to reset a pacifist route, saying that I'm talking about you, you still have the power to reset everything, wanting Frisks to have a happy ending. So to sum it all up, the reason Chara awoke was because of you. Your determination awoke her. As for why Chara becomes evil or not evil depending on the ending, just like at the end of the pacifist route, after Flowey absorbs everybody in the underground, he gains the love and emotion of everybody you've treated so far. You befriended Papyrus, changed the mind of Undy, and become friends with her, help Alfie get over his depression, and spare and help everybody in the underground. This shapes the soulless flower into a better person. Your action determines the ending you get. You get the same thing with Chara. Because of your actions, murdering everybody and gaining love and experience, which love stands for level of violence and experience stands for execution points, you teach and shape Chara to become the monster she becomes at the end of genocide, which in turn gets reflected to you by Chara trying to execute you. Undertale, a game that teaches you that nobody is inherently good or evil. Not even Chara, that is presented as an evil being, is inherently evil. The actions that you leave in your life and the actions you deal in your life determines what type of person you end up being. Either you gain love and experience points, getting an end fitting of your status, or you pick the hard way around, helping and saving everybody around you, befriending them and helping them, which leads to the pathos throughout a happy ending where you're surrounded by everybody. At least that's my theory. Wait a minute, we're not Mabye here. Anyways, even with all of this, there are some points I want to address. First, I don't know what exactly happened to the soul of Chara. We don't see it with Asgard, neither do we ever see it. And at the end of the genocide route, Flowey says to Chara with her stolen soul, which I find odd. As well as this, I don't know why Chara has that weird face. It could possibly mean that she's a half monster, but I don't know. There's just one final thing I want to add. There's a big difference between Chara and quotations Chara, or by extension you're using it. I don't have the time to tell you the difference, neither do I have the full information, but yeah, just do know there's a difference. Please comment below your theories. Here's the end of the video. This has been a long project. This video might have been 17 minutes for you guys, but for me it's more like 2 to 3 weeks of development and creation. Plus a lot of agonizing editing time and video making. This has been somewhat fun though. So if you guys leave like 20 likes maybe, I will make more Undertale videos. Probably less and less than this video. I would appreciate if you lick that subscribe button and like and comment any theories, ideas for next video or anything else. Maybe I'll get around doing it, maybe I'll do something else. And if YouTube has the update with the hype, can you please like hype the video? I would really appreciate it. Thank you and peace.